It's officially been 1 year since my egg baby figurine cracked, so today we're going to talk about the various factors that have influenced my self-concept over the course of my life. Let's untangle that. Part 1. Cracking characters. The big comfy couch was a beacon of light amidst my dark childhood, so it's no surprise I have a great fondness for the FNAF characters stylized after circus clowns and jesters. First on the list is Lolbit. This gender-ambiguous fox first appeared in Five Nights at Freddy's sister location, and they've always been my favorite among the Funtime animatronics. Lolbit is a recolor of Funtime Foxy, whose design is much more markedly feminine by comparison. Lolbit's look goes for subtlety and is easier on the eyes in my opinion. I strongly identified with canines as a kid, partially because of Power Rangers, and that's another reason Lolbit resonates with me so much. The next character behind my cracked egg baby figurine is Nightmare. Their design reminds me of the rock band Kiss, whose members are famous for their black and white makeup and all-black attire. I loved listening to Kiss as a kid, not just because their music was good, but also because I respected their non-conformity to gender norms. They thought for themselves and did whatever they wanted in spite of those who chose to judge them. There's nothing more manly than that. Glam metal was one of my favorite genres in middle school, and it, along with counterculture icons like Kurt Cobain, inspired me to be independent, irreverent, headstrong, authentic, and a trendsetter, a leader. Nightmare's design and theme are also reminiscent of goth subculture. My favorite voice line of theirs is, "Let's taste death again and again and again." The final FNAF character, before we look at other franchises, is, unsurprisingly, the puppet. The marionette and Lunette from the big comfy couch both have blush and black and white striped stockings, though admittedly, the marionette looks more like a mime than a clown. Speaking of stockings, I loved watching Pippi Longstocking growing up. I shared her zany nature and adventurous spirit. Looking back, I see myself in her. I also see myself in the puppet. It's in my nature to protect the innocent. In the dark days of my youth, there was no one there to lift me up into their arms, so I swore to be that person for others, that person I had so desperately needed myself. Though the spirit inhabiting the puppet is a girl, the animatronic as its own character is canonically male, so he gets to join the club of gender nonconformists. Woo. My GNC influences from outside the FNAF franchise include Ryutaro Fukami from Beyblade Metal Saga, Jack from Beyblade Metal Saga, Flea from Chrono Trigger, Link's Gerudo disguise from Breath of the Wild, Rui Ninomiya from Gatchaman Crowds, Birdo from Mario series, Vivian from Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door, Poison from Street Fighter, and Seth from Street Fighter, among many, many other beloved characters. Part 2. Cracking the Whip. For those who may not know, the meaning of the phrase crack the whip, according to Collins Dictionary, is to demand obedience, hard work, or efficiency from others in a harsh or stern manner. Now, this is the part where I must give a trigger warning / content warning, because I'm going to be discussing abuse and neglect. Please stop watching this video if continuing would be traumatic or uncomfortable. I'll give you 10 seconds to click away, and I hope you have a great day. The man I have the misfortune of sharing half my DNA with was the dictionary definition of toxic masculinity. He was violent, he was a misogynist, and he persecuted me relentlessly. You see, I was not a person in his eyes, much less his child. No, I was his personal punching bag, the scapegoat, the whipping boy, both figuratively and literally. Because this man saw me as nothing more than a mere extension of himself, he had no interest in me, or who I was, or what I liked, or what I wanted. He was far more interested in replacing all of that with his vision of what I should be, what I should like, and what I should want. It was common for me to be chastised for breaking rules I had never been told in the first place. I was treated like I was stupid for not already knowing, but from my perspective, the arbitrary rules were the stupidest thing of all. Once, I was up early watching Saturday morning cartoons. Oh, how I missed them. Rest in pepperoni. And Winx Club was on. I loved everything about it. All the bright colors, visual effects, and mythical pretty characters were very appealing to my 5-year-old neurodivergent brain. I mean, duh, who wouldn't be engaged by such a dopamine-inducing display? Well, one day my sperm donor walked in the living room, and when he saw what I was watching, he had an absolute fit. "What is this? Why are you watching this girly shit? What are you, a girl? What's wrong with you? Turn that shit off." I didn't understand. What had I done wrong? Why was he being so mean to me at 6 in the freaking morning? I literally just woke up. Why are girls only allowed to watch this show? It looks so cool. What makes a show a boy show? And what makes a show a girl show? And how was I supposed to know the difference? More often than not, clarifying questions like these were met with verbal abuse and belt lashes, rather than reasonable answers. This certainly was not the last time I'd get in trouble for watching something supposedly too girly. Another story. In kindergarten, my egg donor took me to pick out my first pair of eyeglasses. I was enthralled by the huge selection of lenses. The pair I eventually picked had SpongeBob on them and 2 sparkly white gemstones. I loved how they looked, and initially my sperm donor had no issues. However, one day, he finally noticed the gemstones and he was not happy. "Hold up, what the fuck? Why did your mama let you get girl glasses?" I was confused. These were SpongeBob glasses. SpongeBob's a boy, not a girl. And besides, I thought this guy loved SpongeBob. What gives? I was told, "Boys don't wear gems on their glasses." Despite the fact that this man had a wedding ring, despite the fact that this man had a pierced ear, despite the fact that this man had shiny watches the same color as my offensive gemstones, despite the fact I had seen this man wearing jewelry, despite all that, I was the fucking idiot. This man was furious, talking about how, "Now all the kids at school are gonna think you're gay or something. My wife should have known not to get these stupid glasses." I don't know why, but strangely, my glasses were never returned and switched for a different pair. This would not be the last time my sperm donor would harass me about my girly glasses. This next story is called the zipper incident. One day I was getting ready for school, putting on my jacket, and all of a sudden I was in trouble. My sperm donor yelled, "What is that? Why are you wearing that? Why are you wearing a girl's jacket?" I was confused because it looked like a normal boy's jacket to me. It was gray. It didn't look fun or colorful at all. How was this a girl's jacket? Turns out, the only reason this man knew it was a girl's jacket is because the zipper was on the left side instead of the right side. I didn't know that girls' zippers go on the left and boys' zippers go on the right. No one had ever told me that before. How was I, a 7-year-old, expected to know the difference between a left zipper and a right zipper? I'm not even sure if I was the one who picked out the jacket in the first place. All my clothes came from Goodwill, and it wasn't uncommon for my egg donor to just buy clothes in my absence. I was so terribly confused. What difference did it make? Was a zipper that big of a deal? Other than that, there was nothing girly about the jacket, and no one would have mistaken it for a girl's jacket because it just looked neutral, gray, and boring. But regardless, I was no longer allowed to wear that jacket, which was silly. "What are you, a girl? Take that shit off and go find another jacket." This next story is called The Bowling Ball Incident. When I was young, my egg donor had a CD from this band called Super Chick. It was pop punk, feminist, and positive, one of the only positive sources of encouragement I had. I loved the distorted guitar, I loved the powerful vocals, and I loved the positive messages. The album title was Beauty from Pain, and one of the songs was called Bowling Ball. The lyrics go, "You need that boy like a bowling ball dropped on your head, which means not at all. You have too much to give to live to waste your time on him." I was singing it one day and my sperm donor came in and chewed me out because I was just singing a song. I was minding my own business, singing a song, but apparently I had done something wrong once again. Being the hateful misogynist that he was, it was already bad enough that the band's name was Super Chick, empowering woman. The song is about leaving a bad partner, which is exactly what he was. He felt called out. He felt insecure. So instead of dealing with his internal shame and reflecting on his behavior in his own marriage, he lashed out at me. "Why are you singing that? What's all this about not needing a boy? What are you, gay or something? Are you a girl? Shut that shit off and go do something else." I didn't understand at the time that his fragile ego had been hurt and that was the reason he was harassing me. It's just a song, I thought as I sat in my shame. Why is everything I do wrong somehow? I thought. I don't think I listened to that band ever again after that. He ruined it for me. And from then on, I would censor myself, and any song that was written from a female perspective, I anxiously auto-corrected the lyrics, changing the pronouns to make it not gay, quote. It was a silly waste of energy, but I was a kid and didn't understand why all these stupid things were wrong. So many stupid, insignificant rules surrounding gender. This story is called The Arts and Crafts Incident. One day, I went to Walmart with my egg donor to get some arts and crafts supplies. I got a purple loom, purple knitting needles, and string. The string just so happened to be rainbow. I didn't know the correlation between the rainbow flag and gay folks. I had no idea. I was just excited to learn knitting. I had been taught how to weave and sew in 3rd grade art class, and I figured, why not give knitting a try? Immediately, when I walked in the door, my sperm donor saw the rainbow string and freaked out. He was mad at me for getting it, but I didn't understand why. I was like, dude, it's just string. I'm just making arts and crafts. What is the big deal? Exasperated, my sperm donor asked his wife, why on earth would you get him rainbow yarn? Why would you get him this shit? All the kids at school are gonna think he's gay. Were you not thinking? He was so upset over something so seemingly small. I hadn't realized until then that gay people were associated with the rainbow. To me, a rainbow was just a rainbow. I didn't get it, but I learned. I learned on that day. Great. If I'm seen with anything rainbow, I'm gonna get chewed out for no reason. So much for fun and whimsy. But the rainbow yarn wasn't the only thing grinding this guy's gears. He bullied me for wanting to make fabric crafts. Apparently, knitting was a frivolous woman's hobby. What are you, a girl? You're so stupid for liking this stuff. It's so lame. Why would you want to make this garbage? I never ended up learning to knit after that. Not with the needles, not with the loom. I shamefully kept the rainbow yarn in my room and never let anyone else see it. This next story is about gymnastics. In every episode of The Big Comfy Couch, Lunette takes a stretch break called the clock rug stretch. She gets on this big clock-shaped carpet and moves her arms and legs as if they were hands of a clock. It's really fun and wholesome. Little me always thought it was so cool how Lunette manipulated her body like that, almost like a contortionist. It's one of the many things that made me love stretching and gymnastics. I also watched a lot of Power Rangers and loved the martial arts they did. They did lots of stretching and yoga too, and like Tai Chi adjacent activities as well. Eventually, little me decided that I wanted to do gymnastics. I wanted to be like Lunette and circus acrobats and the Power Rangers. I loved jumping around, I loved doing flips and somersaults and handstands. I enjoyed testing the limits of my body and disciplining my body to be able to do cool stuff. Unfortunately, I was never put in a gymnastics class because my sperm donor didn't like gymnastics. In his eyes, gymnastics was a woman's sport. And one thing he never shut up about was how women's sports were supposedly not real sports. I remember I wanted to play tennis, but I was never put in a tennis class either. My sperm donor probably thought it was too gay or something. That, or he just wasn't interested in it himself, so he refused to support my interest. Why don't you do a real sport? A sport I like, because after all, you're an extension of me. Why don't you play golf? Why don't you do football? Why don't you play basketball? Why don't you play baseball? Why don't you do wrestling? Why don't you do karate? I want you to be tough. I want you to be literally anything besides what you are right now. I never got to do gymnastics. My sperm donor was not interested in what I cared about, or what I was interested in, or what I wanted to do. He was interested in vicariously reliving his athletic glory days through me. He wanted to turn me into this beastly, aggressive sports achiever, a living trophy to parade around and feel proud of himself. After all, that's all I was, a tool, an object, a posable action figure with fully articulated joints. This man just wouldn't leave me alone. After years of pestering, I eventually played football and baseball, his favorite sports. This next story is called Cooties. I had a very lonely childhood. My egg donor and sperm donor were absolutely out of the picture and not engaged in my inner world. They were always busy, and when they weren't, they were doing their best to ignore my existence. I had few friends. Playdates were rare, and when they did occur, it was only ever out of convenience. I didn't visit my friends from school. I was dragged along whenever my masters were visiting their friends or business associates, and I simply played with whatever children were around. It was very lonely. Funnily enough, in kindergarten, one of my classmates was also our neighbor. Let's call her Sarah. I asked many times, "Hey, can I go to Sarah's house? I'm so lonely. I need someone to play with. I need someone to play with. I need someone to play with. I desperately need someone to play with." And I wasn't allowed to go to Sarah's house because she was a girl. And I wasn't allowed to have playdates with girls. Why? I don't know. They never gave me a real answer. Or at least not a good one. Me asking questions was always met with, "Shut up! I'm the adult and I'm always right. Do you want me to get the belt? You do what I say and I don't care if you're lonely. And I don't care if you want someone to play with." I didn't understand. I was allowed to play with girls at school, but not outside of school? Why? It didn't make sense to me. Nothing ever did. I was like 6, man. What's the big deal? I wasn't asking for a sleepover. I was just asking for a playdate. I imagine my sperm donor didn't want Sarah to turn me gay or turn me into a girly sissy person. Ooh, spooky. Or something stupid like that. He's going to be playing with dolls and doing hair, and before you know it, he's going to come out as a trans or something. Oh God, we can't have that happen. How terrible that would be. So, I was left to just constantly be alone, rotting in my room, watching the same VHS tapes over and 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 over again. Talking and playing with my imaginary friends, because that's all I fucking had. There's plenty more silly stories surrounding gender and my upbringing, but I think you get the picture. I was constantly ridiculed all my life for not being an aggressive, pushy, violent person. I swore from an early age to never act like my abusers. I swore to treat people with kindness and respect. I swore to resolve conflict peacefully. I swore to operate from a place of emotional intelligence. I swore to exhibit self-control. I swore to think before acting. I learned that from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I learned that from Power Rangers. I learned it from TV shows and movies that were beacons of light in my world of darkness. I learned different martial arts principles and I applied them to my life because I didn't have anyone to raise me. So Master Splinter raised me, and Zordon raised me. I was raised by media. I was raised on nonviolence and pacifism and diplomacy and healthy communication, but I was harassed my whole life for not being a big, rough, bulky, strong, manly man. "You need to lift weights. You need to get strong. Come on, lift weights. Oh, you're so wimpy and scrawny and skinny. You need to gain weight. Put on some muscle or something." I was body shamed throughout my childhood. I was mocked and called a girl. Whenever I put my hand on my hip, my sperm donor would crack the whip. If I ever sat with my legs crossed, he'd shame me and show me who's boss. When walking around with a limp hand, I'd receive a reprimand. To my sperm donor, I was a shameful thing. I was an embarrassment. I was never good enough. There was always something wrong with me. Something wrong about me, no matter what I did. The person who was supposed to be my father found fault in everything I did, everything I ever said. He was merciless and cold and unfeeling and cruel. He was always attacking me and taking out his anger on me for no reason. I was a stain on his family's name, and he made sure I knew that. Religion also demanded I be anything but myself. It required me to kill myself and become a mindless, obedient robot. Men can only do this, men can't do that. Women can only do this, women can't do that. As a man, you're not allowed to shave. You have to do this, you can't do that. You can't be this way, you must be that way. For so many years, I was constantly obsessing over being what I was supposed to be, doing what I was supposed to do out of a constant, all-consuming fear. Religion told me I was a filthy, disgusting, terrible, evil, unforgivable person. Religion told me I was a failure from the start and unworthy of love or life. Religion told me I deserved to be tortured endlessly. Religion told me I was fundamentally broken and wrong and messed up. Religion told me I was a pig. Religion told me I was an ornery wild animal worthy of slaughter. Religion told me I was disgusting, lower than dirt. Religion told me I was worthless. Religion told me my wants didn't matter, my needs didn't matter, my interests didn't matter, my dreams didn't matter, my aspirations didn't matter, my friends didn't matter. Religion told me what I loved didn't matter, who I loved didn't matter. Religion told me I didn't matter. Religion told me that I wasn't a person, but a robot to serve someone else's purposes. Religion told me that unless I was perfect, I would be tortured forever by my own quote-unquote heavenly father who supposedly loved me, that I would be tortured in hell for wearing a skirt, that I'd be tortured in hell for shaving my hair. Religion told me all these things, and that was my self-concept. That is how I viewed myself. What everyone else told me I was. What my sperm donor told me, what my egg donor told me, what my relatives told me, what religion told me, what my peers told me, what my bullies told me. All of that is what made up my self-concept, my self-image. And unsurprisingly, it was torture. I desperately wanted out. It was horrible. I felt so unloved. I felt lower than a worm. My self-esteem was non-existent. But eventually, I left religion and I cut the toxic relatives out of my life. And immediately after that, my mental health improved drastically. Now, my self-concept is what I say it is. I am that I am. I will become what I choose to become. You're probably wondering, okay, great, that's nice and all. What are you coming out as? Well, I'm me. That's it. I am not my body. I'm me. I am not my face. I'm me. I am not my nether region. I'm me. I live inside a male body, this shell, this fleshy cell, and I am consciousness, ungendered, unfettered, and unapologetically me. Thank you for watching.